So welcome back from the break. I hope that you enjoyed the exercise with the orange and found it helpful. This webinar, maybe we should say, will be present at the DBI website afterwards, so you can watch it again if you want to rehearse the different involvement forms. As I said on the film, during the exercise, we use these different involvement forms in our communicative and communicating hands to bring the world to the child with deafblindness. It is a way to give a sense of coherence. We have a Scottish colleague, Paul Hart, Dr. Paul Hart. He once said that people with deafblindness are surrounded with magicians, as we can make things pop up out of the blue, change things, and let things disappear again. The orange, for instance. The tactile sensation of an orange with a peel is totally different than an orange without a peel. And how does the child know that it is the same fruit if we didn't involve them in the process peeling it? Even the smell of an orange is totally different with or without the peel, so we cannot use the smell as the thing that would combine the two tactile sensations. The same thing as the smell on a wrapped candy bar. It smells different with or without the paper. It smells different. A banana smells different with and without the peel, and so on. So when things change during a process, we often see that also not only the tactile sensation, the visual sensation, but also the sense of smell differs. So we need to be aware of that we cannot use the smell to combine the two things. So therefore, we need to ask ourselves again and again, are we good enough to let the child be a part of the process so that they get the whole picture? When we use the tactile communication and use the mediating hands to involve the child, we can take different body positions. Here at the first picture, you see Mike and me. We are in front of each other, so we have front to front. And it's a typical speaking position. At the next picture, you will see the position side by side. That was also the position we had during the exercise with the orange. We sat side by side. But at this picture, side by side, you can see that the communication partner has placed an object, a jam jar, on the shoulder and not in the hands of the person with deafblindness. Just an illustration how you can place stuff on the body if the person with deafblindness has very sensitive hands, if he doesn't like to hold stuff in his hands, or if his hands are locked due to cerebral palsy, then we can bring and communicate about the world on the person, on other body parts, on shoulder or arms, maybe on the knees and so on. But when we do that, we need to be aware that the sense of touch is passive and the person himself is not that active. So therefore, we need to repeat and reinforce our movements a lot more. And we need actually also to give the person, before we start placing something on his shoulder, we need to draw his awareness to what part of the body that we're going to express something. So at the last picture, we have the nested position. So the person with deafblindness has his back to our front, the partner's front. The nested position is easier when you have a small child that is able to sit on your lap, because a big person, you really have to have some long arms to be able to reach around them. So it's easier when you have a smaller child. And if you want to see the child's face and the expressions, how they feel about it, how they express what you're doing, how they feel about what you're doing, you can put a mirror in front of you so that you're able to see their facial expressions. The nested position also gives the child an immediate sense of your emotions and your energy. If you're fast and quick, and it can feel your body if you laugh, or how your breathing is. And in the nested position, it's very easy to comfort the child using a deep and heavy sigh, showing them that all is safe. The deep sigh, the deep breathing and sigh tells our nerve system that everything is okay, and it's okay to relax because the situation is safe. So if we are a little tense, both of us, because this is new, we haven't tried using these hands before, we haven't tried the activity before together, both of us might be a little tense, but then to start with, we can start to use this heavy breathing and sigh, telling both our nerve systems that it's okay, we're going to relax and be okay here together. Because when we are in relations and we do activities together, language emerges. We can do a lot to prepare and scaffold activities so that they become motivating and funny and sensorily accessible for the child with deafblindness. Because as more fun and motivating they are, the higher benefit of starting a conversation about what is going on will increase. And here we can use a method or a model that consists of 3 layers. So the first layer, we prepare the activity. We can call it the before layer. So we prepare the activity. Then we have the participation, the during activity, and then the joint processing after the activity. In the preparation, the partner introduces different artifacts, things. It could be also keywords or key signs that somehow represent the activity. And here we can introduce movements or other sensory elements that kind of can help the child to understand what the activity is about. Here in the preparation, it's only kind of introduction to the activity. If it's new, the child will not know what activity it is, but maybe they have a clue if they feel something that they know on beforehand. During the activity, we do stuff together. We co-construct the activity together. The activity becomes live and present. And here it is essential that the child is involved and becomes an active part of the activity. And we can use the different involvement forms, hand forms, and we can shift between being the one that do things and the one that follow the interest of the others. And when we do so, we also become more aware of the child's contributions and the child's expressions about the activity. When we shift hand position, being the one who follows and the one that pay attention to the other. So we become more aware of the child's contributions and his expressions about the activity, and then we can respond on these contributions, and we can give them a communicative value by responding on them and say, yeah, that was the thing with the orange here, we felt the little nod. And afterwards, we can reconstruct the activity again, talk about it in different manners. So it is remembered as a shared experience, something we did together, and we can talk about it again, and we can enjoy it together again and again. And here, repetition and reconstruction can be used to enlarge the activity so that learning about learning a new sign and developing communication and language kind of emerges. So the before, during, and after method also support the memory, the creation of identity, co-construction of meaning, and of course an experience of coherence. The stuff and the world belongs in together. Yeah. I used the concept of scaffolding a little, so I just want to step aside and explain that it originates from the Russian Vygotsky. He was a psychologist, and he wrote about the zone of proximal development. And the idea is that a child, together with an adult, is able to do what the child cannot yet do on his own. So scaffolding focuses on the potential for development, and it gives the child an experience of being able to do stuff, to handle and master challenges, and also the joys that life offers them. As an example, day programs and activities, they can be framed so that the child with deafblindness can make connections between the activity, the movements in the activity, how we behave, how the sound or the visual input is, and how we can connect these into communication. So when we build a frame around an activity, then it's easier for the child to be able to follow us. So scaffolding, we give the child to do something together with us that they cannot yet do on their own. During activities, we need to be aware and ask ourselves, do we have the same agenda? Do we understand, both of us, what the activity is about? And how can we support that we and the child co-create meaning together, and that we and the child share the same attention? And how can we support that we together experience the most joyful moments of the joint attention, where we are both aware of each other and the stuff that we're doing together or talk about? Or as Steve Rose asked at the last webinar we had in November, how do you let your child know that you know what they know? So once again, how do you let your child know that you know what they know? I think that is a very good question to ask ourselves. How could I let my child know that I know what he knows? And here we can use the different methods. We can use artifacts, things that represent what we're going to talk about, or what our activity will be about. And the artifacts can help us to negotiate the frame of the activity, but they can also help us to hold focus on what we talked about. And it can help us to come back to the essence of the activity of our conversations if one of us loses interest or attention during our conversation. Repetition and rehearsal can help us to memorize what we were talking about and how we are talking about it. For instance, how did we do it? And how did we form a sign? How is a sign formed? So here we can rehearse a sign again and again, and then we can enlarge it into the communication about the activity. So when we repeat the activity, it also gives us the opportunity to rehearse the activity so that it becomes stronger in our memories. The emotional attunement and involvement is essential in order to let the other one know that what I think about what we're doing. Is it funny? Did I follow your interest? Did I think what you did was exciting or new, or how do we think about it? Or And how can we share these emotions that is going on between us? How can we share that both of us are laughing about the same stuff? So we need to pay attention on how we can use our body and our hands to share these moments together, so that we put this layer of the emotional and social involvement on, because it reinforces the memory about the activity. And it reinforces also how we can talk about it, how we can communicate about it afterwards. And then the last one is the shift between talking about the activity and doing the activity. And the shift between talk and do help us to hold our attention on the activity, but it is also very important when we co-create meaning about the activity. And I want to put a little more focus on the last one, the use of talking and action space. Because in verbal language, oral language, we can speak about something that we do at the same time we do it. So we can talk about what we do at the same time as we do it. We don't have that option in sign language, or in tactile sign language, or in tactile communication, because here our hands are typically either busy talking or busy doing something. So therefore, we need to be aware that we can switch between talking about it and doing about it. So we switch between conversation and activity spaces. And one can say that the switch between conversation, talking, and the activity spaces wraps communication and language about the activity. So for instance, if I explore this little stuff, I can explore it, and then I can talk about how I explore it. And I can explore it again, and I can talk about how I explore it. But I cannot talk about it and explore it at the same time, except if we have someone over our hands that could say, yes, this is what you did. The talking and shifting, the shift between the activity and conversation space can go very fast and switch all the time, but it is a switch, because we cannot do and talk in our hands at the same time. Here, when we use this shift between activity and conversation space, again, we can use the scaffolding method of preparation, participation, and joint processing. So this is what I wanted to tell you about today. So just to summarize, we need to bring the world to the child. The child is dependent on us bringing the world to him. And the active touch is very powerful when it comes to understand the world, to perceive the world, and also to be able to talk about it and remember it afterwards. Participation and involvement, so the activity, the being active, enhance communication. So when you are active, as Nelina said, then we want to talk about it afterwards. And then at last, the mediating or communicating hands scaffolds the child's opportunity to be an active partner, and also be an active participant and communication partner, so that they discover that they are actually doing something, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Very easy, because we have this shift between talking and listening hands, and we shift between talk about it and do stuff. So that was what I wanted to share with you today. And now I think we have some time for questions, but I'll just yeah, so please stop.